Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We are not going to start this meeting with slides the way we started last week's meeting, but we have some slides available for reference if we need them. All right. We are here to conduct a public hearing before City Council of City of Meadows Place, Texas, to hear any and all persons desiring to be heard concerning the 2024 tax year proposed property tax rate for the City of Meadows Place. I am opening this public hearing. If there are any members of the public here to speak on the tax rate, you are invited to the podium at this time. Is it on?
Push the little bar on
We'll help you.
How's that?
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Besner.
Mike Besner, 11842 Mulholland, since 1975. Point of order. Where did we say the Pledge of Allegiance before these meetings? I ask that all of you stand and let's say the Pledge of Allegiance before we start.
I'm great with that. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. All right. Glad we have a consent for that. I've read the budget. I was here at the budget meeting on the last time. I stand before you tonight asking for no new taxes until you have a commitment to take care of some of the amenities. Number one, we need to sell the nature center. Less than 10% of the people, of the residents, use that nature center. If we put $300,000, which is probably the right amount for the houses selling here in the Meadows, we could put that into our infrastructure. And at the same time, if we sold that house to an individual, we would put that property back on the tax rolls, which would be another $2,000 a year, approximately, something like that. We need to have less amenities and more infrastructure. Whenever the previous mayor, took office, he did not have any emphasis on infrastructure. The day he left office, the infrastructure was worse than the day that he took office. So that, and I don't, also, the fees that we pay should be considered as a part of our taxes. Our water bill is going to be getting to be not a water bill, but a fee bill in which we pay all these fees. If you go back to the day that the fee for the infrastructure was initiated, there were several people in the audience who wanted $5 a month because they were on fixed incomes. And then after it was all over, the mayor says, I'm thinking about 10, and each individual council member followed like sheep and agreed to the $10 a month. I'm on fixed income. I have other stuff coming in, but mostly fixed incomes. It is difficult. When you go to the grocery store and try to make ends meet, it's difficult to pay the taxes. Thank God for Governor Abbott last year, who lowered the school taxes to the point that I could really see a difference. We need to see some kind of the same difference in our city budget, in our city taxes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Besner. Would anybody else like to step up to the podium?
Hi, Silvia Romano, 11923 Bloomington Lane. I'm here to support the tax increase. With all respect, I do believe that all the amenities that we have, the nature center, the activities that we do in the park, the police, the wonderful police that we have. We have much better services than the city of Houston, with recollection of the trash cans. And I mean, I think that we have so many great things, and we even were mentioned in the magazine like one of the best ones. We don't want to lose that. We think that we want young families with kids to come here to live, to make this neighborhood as beautiful as it always was since we moved here. And I do believe that taxes for schools are very important because we want our kids to learn. So I'm really proud of Fort Bend ISD, even though I was a teacher in Houston ISD. But I'm very proud of Fort Bend ISD, and I'm very proud of my city. And that's why I really support the tax hike. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would anybody else like to step up to the podium? Actually not.
Just turn your microphone on, please. Okay, Kelly Mills, speaking as a resident, 12123 Scottsdale Drive. I'm for the tax rate. I checked with my older sister. She lives in Houston, and her taxes run her just over $1,000 a month. Okay, that does not include constable. They have to pay extra for that. She lives in Braze Heights. I could give you her address, but she doesn't want me to look it up. What else do they pay for? Their trash comes once a week, not twice. Recycling is like once every blue moon. Heavy trash is every other month or something and all. And she can't believe we only pay, I think ours will be $3,000 something a year. She's like, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes." And we have a lot of areas in Houston and surrounding areas. We don't have an HOA. They have an HOA on top of the $1,000 a month, property tax. So in other words, their house, even though it's paid off, will never be paid off. They are on a fixed income. They're older than me, so yes, they've retired. Bruce and I have been on a fixed income since 2007 when we were really young because of a medical crisis. So I understand the fixed income. We went down to blowing and going and making money and saving a lot. Luckily, my husband is a saver, not a spender like me, but it made a difference. Yes, we've had to cut back on a lot of stuff. We buy used vehicles, whatever, but I don't think cutting our taxes or whatever, not raising them, will benefit our neighborhood in the long run. We've got the new school, we've got a nature center, we've got a nice Parks and Recs department. We need to keep showing them. We have people coming in from the outside enjoying these amenities. And then they bring people, and people will buy houses. We don't want our neighborhood dying off like the surrounding neighborhoods and everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Would anybody else like to come up to the podium?
Terry Henley, 12203 Austin Drive, and based on the comments that you made, the numbers this week are the same as they were last week, correct? And I raised a question on the budget you've presented that shows specifically current ad valorem tax of $3,925,000 and $925,510. That's the ad valorem tax that was in 2023. Now, for some reason, on the spreadsheet you have for the budgets online, it shows that number of $4,311,148. I need an explanation of what the differences are, because it should be one and the same.
Our finance director, Anna Maria.
I'll take that. The difference of what is in the budget is that we are budgeting 97% of the collection rate. And what the CAD is doing is they're giving 100%, and we never get 100%. Definitely not in the first year. So what we're proposing...
That doesn't calculate to $400,000 difference.
We're using the CAD's numbers that they're giving us for the tax levy from last year in what is being proposed, but that's not necessarily the same number we're using in our budget.
So what you're saying in the budget for 23, $3,925,510 is what you budgeted.
And we're going to fall
What
short.
was the actual?
We're going to fall short, about 85,000.
You're going to fall short of the 3.9 million?
Correct.
You will fall short of that.
We are.
Okay. Then
So-
why are you showing on the online for the budget numbers for 2023? You're showing $4,311,148. There's a $400,000 difference in one versus the other. I still don't explain the difference. What you have online is considerably higher than what's on your actual budget. Explain the difference.
I can address that. We decided on the budget to be on the fiscally conservative side and not overestimate. We wanted to come in lower than what we think we may get, simply because we wanted to make sure that we didn't have to cut something as we go into the year if the revenues don't reach that. So we took the lower revenue number and put it in the budget as a way to be conservative.
What did you actually receive in ad valorem tax?
We won't know
budgeted
that.
for the actual. What's the actual? What's the actual number you received?
I don't have
It's
that
not.
number.
It's not. You know, these are budget numbers. Budget and actuals
We did
always
get
two
that
different things.
in an email. We can
We'll have
look
to
at it.
look. We don't have it for us, but we have actuals at the end of the fiscal year. And so when we look at budget versus actual, we have that tracking back into multiple years. So once we hit fiscal year 24's actuals, then we can have that number to stack it up against the budgeted number. But what we try to do is we try to actually budget a revenue amount that's a little bit lower than what the county thinks we're going to collect, to be a little bit more conservative in case we don't collect 100% of that ad valorem tax.
So, is the budgeted number for 2023 $3.9 million or 4.3? Which one is it?
When you say 23, are you talking about fiscal year 24?
2023, yeah, fiscal year 2023, which you had last, you said last August,
Talking about last
and
year's
you're
fiscal
showing
budget.
two different numbers, so I want to know which one is, was one of them.
We can look at fiscal year 23's actuals, but we don't have fiscal year 24's actuals quite yet. And we're not going to have fiscal year 24's actuals until fiscal year 24 is closed out.
So in 2023, you show on the budget sheet that Courtney gave me
That's for the
$3.9 million, and on your website it's showing 4.3. Now those are supposed to be actual numbers. Which one is it?
Yeah, I don't know that we're tracking with you. We'll find out.
Yeah, I
We'll
mean,
find the
I raised this last week, and nobody seemed to answer the question.
Well, we'll
So
find
I don't.
If you give us a chance, we'll find that information. But I think you're talking about fiscal year 23, are you not?
I understand.
Okay,
And
fiscal
then
year
if we go
23
to
was a year ago.
24, you're showing on here 3.9 million,
Okay, I don't know.
but
what that
yet on
is.
this sheet you're showing 4.8.
Okay, I understand, but I don't know what those two sheets are. We're
But
gonna have to
Mr.
take a
Henley,
look.
we're here tonight to talk about 24-25 fiscal year.
And we're here to try to figure out how much you're increasing it from 24 to 25. And based on,
Proposed budget for 2024 he's actually looking at budget 2 years ago was 3.9.
Mr. Henley, what we're looking at the website right now.
I think we're looking at what you're looking at.
22 fiscal year 22-23 tax levy on all properties, $3,912,000, and then that's the 22-23. And what we are proposing is $4,818,000 for 24-25. That's the proposal with the tax rate of 0.8842. And then if the tax rate
and that
was at
increase is close to 20%.
You are correct.
Okay?
11.77%
from the 23-24 year to the 24-25.
No, that's the 4.3 to 4.8. You're talking about the 3.9 to 4.8 is nearly 20.
2 years back.
Yes, sir. That 3.9.
The 3.9 is 2 years ago. That's not.
That's not what this says. 8.723 was the number you had for that budget.
We're not sure what you have in your hand there.
The proposed tax rate for 24-25 is 20% higher than 2 years ago.
What is it 1 year ago then?
11.7%.
11.7.
Yes, sir.
Assuming
I mean, the numbers are...
That is assuming the highest proposed tax rate, which we discussed last week. Council proposed the highest rate. All 4 rates are still on the table, which is what we're here to hear you tonight about.
We won't have the increase above the current year until the current year closes.
Yes.
Correct.
So all we can do is go on the projections that we
Based
have.
on projections. I understand. I understand. But the projections and the numbers you're showing here are way out of kilter. Now, if we agree that it appears to be an increase of $507,000 or 11.77 increase, and I had a number of questions I raised last week, anything more than 8, I'm going to have a problem with.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Hanley.
And anything more than 8, there will be a petition.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think so too. Okay, so and I actually had a discussion with somebody this weekend about that. So the other confusing thing I think for this budget season, not just this budget season, but how budgets are built. We built the budget this year based on the current tax rate, assuming no tax raises. Last week, we adopted a budget based on the proposed tax rate. So it looks like we have all of this revenue when we really don't. The budget got adopted on the proposed tax rate. Tonight, what we're doing is adopting the tax rate. And then the next agenda item is ratifying, saying, if it's different than the proposed tax rate budget, then we have to ratify that budget tonight. So the numbers are going to be a little different because what's on the website is the budget saying that the proposed tax rate is 0.88 but that may or may not be the budget that the tax rate that council votes on tonight. So the numbers will shift tonight based on the tax rate. And you're correct, on the website, the budget that's sitting on the website says that our tax rate is 0.88, the highest de minimis tax rate, because that was the proposed tax rate. And when we adopt the budget, we only have the proposed number. We don't have the actual adopted tax rate.
And those calculations came from the CAD. Those numbers from no new revenue to voter approved rate to the de minimis rate were not calculated by us. They were calculated by the county and sent to us, and those numbers were certified, and that's what Anna Marie has to use when she presents the information to us. So those numbers, whatever they are, and the 0.88 was a number that we got from the CAD stating if the revenues based on our levy come up to this is the most you can raise your taxes and still stay within the de minimis rate. That's from the county. They're the ones that said to us, here's the number you can use.
And the minimum rate exceeds the 8%.
It does.
Yes, it
what
does.
I'm hearing you say, Mr. Henley, is that you are not in favor of any tax rate that exceeds
above
8%. Okay.
If I remember correctly, and I have to go back and look, most times, without exception, it was 3 to 5% that we increased it when I was on council.
Yes, sir.
And I had a problem going above 5%. And I know how you're trying to use some of the money to, for infrastructure reserves, and which is fine with that, but not above 8%.
Okay.
And I will have an issue if it's above 8%, just so y'all understand that. There's 30-something% of us on fixed incomes. I've been on fixed income for 12 years, and it's starting to hurt because we have excellent tax rates here in the city. My other properties are just, ridiculous. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. 8%.
Okay,
Okay, otherwise there will be a petition.
got it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Henley. Would anybody else like to step up to the podium?
Good evening, Silverio Romano, 11923 Bloomington Lane. With many people that we talk, and they sent already letters to the city, I'm in favor of you keeping the city working, which will mean that we will need to try to get as much money as possible, which means increasing a little bit the taxes. I was checking today across different cities. Even that we may be a little higher than others, at the end of the month, we are collecting the same amount of money, and actually everybody is increasing taxes because the truth is we have 7% to 10% increase in our, because what we call inflation, but the truth is industries have been increasing a lot more. We just are arranged to have windows replaced. The cost for 2 panels of windows was $36,000. Which after all these things, because we are in a fixed income, and actually I think everybody is in a fixed income because unless you change job, you normally get the same amount of money. That's why I never say anything. But technically my amount of money every month is exactly the same and less than it used to be when I was working. So it's very important that we understand that costs are higher. If windows cost so much, a pump that costs $40,000, it means $10,000 per hour per person in the city, while, for example, Rosenberg with 40,000 people will be only $1 per person for the same pump. We don't have control of that. You don't have control of that. So even that $200-300 may make it different in a year, it means that I prefer to have and pay $200 to the city and not to my city, and not to pay $600 because the tire went broken because the street was broken like it happened a few months ago. So right now, I lost $600 replacing a tire that I shouldn't be replacing because the street should be repaired. So fortunately, it was not in Meadows Place. It was crossing Meadows Place. It was in the next city, Sugar Land. So that means if Sugar Land cannot keep the city running because they're trying to save taxes, why are we going to do the same? I don't want to pay thousands and thousands of dollars every year on repairing my car, on repairing my house, having trouble with electricity because we cannot maintain the system, have water contaminated just because I prefer to try to manage my budget. And I know maybe the solution will be for sometimes the city to find a way to find ways to deal with our generation, the old generation, that sometimes we will need help on our finances. But at the end, we need to think on the future and our children. I'm not going to be here in the city for the next 20 years. I mean, very soon, like it or not, even if I am alive, I will not be in the city, I will be in another place because I will not be able to do what I do today. So I need to think in the future, and I am in favor of that you do the taxes because the reality is the cost of living is higher. We have, like for example, Fort Bend has a lower taxes. The school system, Fort Bend, has a lower taxes than Lamar Consolidated. Actually, is 10-15% less. It's not a good idea because I work for Fort Bend, and I know that sometimes we don't have money, and we need to deal with going and buying as a teacher stuff for our kids because the school cannot provide it. And that's because Mr. Abbott decided to take away money from the schools. And that's something that I will never forgive to this guy and their predecessors, because that means that I needed to spend my own money. My wife spent her own money because the state didn't support education. So I really like the city supporting our city, and in this case, we will need to do the effort and raise the taxes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would anybody else like to come to the podium?
Sorry, I'm losing my voice. My name is Beatrice Velez. I live at 11819 Scottsdale Drive. My thing is, yes, taxes are, the city needs taxes, to get everything taken care of. But this year, my house went up substantially for the past couple of years since I lived in the city. But my whole thing is, I understand that, but will the city have any implementation on all the animals that are stray, the cats, the dogs? It's really getting out of control, especially in my corner, and I'm taking care of on my own money to make sure I can take care of that. But it's just gotten worse, even after your a letter that came out. So I want to know if there's anything planned for that with all these taxes that are going to be increased for the houses for 2024, 2025, or future. That's my whole thing. If we're going to do this, then what other things can the city do about the problem that we have?
With animal control specifically. Tomorrow, at tomorrow's council meeting, we will be rewording one of our animal control ordinances to address some gray area that there's been, and that is happening tomorrow, which will help our police department enforce in a way that they haven't been able to because the language has been gray. I'm working with Fort Bend County Animal Control. We will be getting on the calendar preventative, proactive measures to help with things like microchipping and spaying and neutering, but largely the need that potentially extra funds would go to if the tax rate were to be raised is going to be infrastructure. Things like roads, streets, water lines, things that sidewalks. The infrastructure is the right. main goal for this. But you are absolutely correct. We are working on animal control, and that has not stopped.
Yeah, and also I have noticed that there's a lot of rental properties, but they're not from like a homeowner. There are companies. Mm-hmm. Currently, I'm having an issue with the one in my back. So I don't know. I'm just raising it. I will come to the city later, but I don't know if that's something you can address also going forward.
I am an council as well, or we are always happy to hear from our residents. So if you have a very specific concern, please reach out to our city staff and council and myself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come to the podium this evening?
It's Robert Work. I'm at 12018 Scottsdale Drive. This is my first meeting with y'all on the taxes. I now know it's not going to be my last. I'm more comment than it is about the taxes. I didn't study it, but I'm not for more taxes either. But the reality of the whole situation, you got to raise taxes. We got to keep our infrastructure and everything up. Comment you made there, Kelly, about keeping our property values up. My question is, our taxes are already going up because they're raising the values of our homes, so we're going to pay more taxes up front. So my question is to the council, do you take in that consideration when you're raising this, when you make this recommendation for our tax rates to raise it, are you going to be taking money out of our citizens' pockets so they can't keep their houses up? Because I really don't want to have nice streets around here and houses that look like they are out of the ghetto, right? If we can't enforce our codes and things like that, and you have people the ability to have money in their pockets to be able to keep their houses up, we're going to have a real nice water system and roads, but our houses are going to look like something in the third ward. And all we're going to do is the property values are going to continue to go up because where we're at. We're in central Houston, for that matter, right now. Our values will go up, and we'll continue to pay taxes. So we need to be real careful what we're doing with our taxes as we're raising them. What value are you giving back to the citizens to help offset some of their costs that they're going to have in order to keep up with, I'll say the Joneses, but keep up with the Meadows place? But you want your house to look nice. But it's very unaffordable for a lot of people to do that. And that money is coming out there. You have to pay your taxes or you're not going to have your house. So we need to make sure that we don't overextend ourselves and look for other opportunities to get revenue into our city. That's all I want to make a comment on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Would anybody else like to step up to the podium? All right. I am now closing this public hearing. We're going to move, I am now closing this public hearing to approve ordinance Oh, wait, am I opening discussion?
Yeah.
Oh, we're moving on to item 2? This one. Okay, got it. Okay. Discussion and we're moving on to item number 2. Discussion and consideration of ordinance number 2024-36, providing a property tax rate for the levy and collection of ad valorem taxes by the City of Meadows Place, Texas for the year 2024. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I think before I make a recommendation or a proposal that we accept, I'd like to make a couple statements. One, I appreciate the people who came tonight and shared their ideas. We had a few people that sent us emails, both asking us to hold the line on taxes, another that said they supported the increases based on that. One of the calculations I did prior to this meeting, and really for the budget, was I looked at what we have ahead of us as a city, and we have unfunded things that we need to do that are planned out, and these are things that are not extravagant. These are maintaining our streets, our sidewalks, our wastewater treatment plant, our water lines, and over the next 10 years, we have about $8 million worth of expenses unfunded. So that's in the general fund. So we have two buckets of money that the city uses. One is general, and one is utility. Utility is infrastructure fee, your water bill, the garbage bill, all of that. That all has to come out of the other one. So the general fund itself, next 10 years, $8 million. We have zero money right now towards that. So that's unfunded. On the utility side, it's more grim. We have $10 million over the next 15 years, $7 million over the next 10. So there's about $700,000 a year on one, $800 on the other. But in that next 15 years, we have $5 million that we have planned for water line replacements. That's water lines and the breaks under the street. All of that would be replacing all our water lines is going to cost us $5 million. We don't have a penny of that saved today. As a matter of fact, the reserve we have for the utility is still 7 months short of having a fund balance where we feel safe if we have another summer like we did 2 years ago where we had almost $1 million worth of water main breaks. We're right now spending $4 million. Fortunately, we had some funds come from outside the city, but we're spending $4 million that's going on right now to update our wastewater treatment plant, which is decades old, and we've come close. As a matter of fact, we've had a couple situations where we didn't quite meet requirement. The good news is our public works director and the department has done a good job bridging it, and we're under process now of doing that. Cameron, do you have the slide that you put on that we can show that it's the this is on the website. This is something Cameron started doing. It's live on our website, and for those of you watching online, this shows our capital expenses, and there's a so as those highlight, you can kind of look, and you can like the wastewater treatment plant, you can see that one total cost $3.9 million. The funds are coming from city funds, American Rescue Plan funds. We also had, I think, some money from the county. All of the things that we're spending money on, I will tell you, we've been able to make it work. Part of that is the staff is able to generate millions of dollars a year in grants and loans that just grants because it's not something we have to pay back, but grants and monies from the county, from the state, from the federal government. These are monies that don't come from your property tax. Some of them come from your sales tax because the EDC, which is our Economic Development Corporation, gets a half a penny for every dollar that's spent in Meadows. So the eight and a quarter, they get a half a cent of that, and they can put some of that back to help pay for the parks. They help pay for some of the stuff that happens at the Nature Center. They help pay for different beautification things on the city. They're very focused on what they can spend, but every year millions of dollars are allocated to the city of Meadows Place that come from outside the taxpayer base. But this $10 million for the utility fund and $8 million for the general fund, That's not going to come from, not much of that's going to come from outside the city. That's going to have to be paid for by the residents. And if we don't start saving now for what we know is coming, then we're going to end up in a crisis and we're going to have to borrow money. And if we borrow money, guess what? We pay a lot of interest on it, and then we're locked in, and we've locked the rest of the residents in for probably 20 years of paying back debt. And we've had debt before. We finished paying it off a couple years ago. The last thing I'll say is there were some online things, and I've seen some things in some articles about another city. I think it's Rosenberg lowered their tax rate. Just so you're aware, the city of Meadows over the past 10 years, and there is a slide for this, I think, 5 times out of the past 10 years, we've lowered the rate. We have lowered the tax rate. Now, that doesn't mean that we lowered the tax bill, but we lowered the rate because we were receiving enough revenue from the increased values of the homes. So you can look and see that dot, the blue dots, the dark line, that is our tax rate. So we were at 0.89 in 2014. This year we're at 0.79. And if we go into 2025, we have 0.38, which is the voter-approved rate. If we go to 0.88, we're still below where we were 10 years ago. Now, that doesn't mean the taxes go down, but when you see something from another city that said we've lowered the tax rate, that's not a real representation of what's happening. That's just I don't want to say smoke and mirrors, but that we've done that, and we don't have articles in the Chronicle saying Meadows 5 out of the last 10 years have lowered their tax rate, because it's not a reflection of what we're really doing. So when you see something in the paper that says we're lowering our tax rate, look and see what the other aspects of it are. So with that, I kind of get off my soapbox and we can talk about the actual rate. I would see if there's any other comments.
Well, I have some comments. Thank you, David. Thank you for your comments. Those were great. So a couple of things. I know we received several emails and discussions. And I know the Discovery Center gets brought up a lot, and then also concerts in the park of things that we should get rid of to save money. Looking into concerts in the park, I think that costs us roughly $20,000 for the year, I want to say. And $20,000 is a lot of money. I'm not saying $20,000 is not a lot of money, because it is. When it comes to infrastructure, it takes some time to build up to what you need. But if we get rid of the amenities that we have, we're getting rid of our community, in my opinion. Concert in the Park is where our community comes together. I know my children look forward to it. It's core memories that they have every year when they go. It's also a chance for our community groups, our swim team, baseball, everybody comes together to raise funds for their group. And that is what makes a community. And I grew up here, and those were the memories that I have. And so to me, I know that some people don't always attend them or go to them or use them, but that doesn't mean that other people in the community are not using them. There's lots of things that I don't use in the community as well. Same thing with the Discovery Center. I know the kids go over there for field trips, and there's a lot of learning opportunities that happen there. There's a lot of summer camp groups that happen. And so just because some people aren't using them doesn't mean that not everybody is using them and they are valued. But I understand that everybody has different uses in different times of what they need. The other thing I would say is that I know that this council has done a lot of thought and discussions about raising the tax rate. I have a mother who is on a fixed income. When she is short, I'm the one that has to pay the bills. So I know that just because $10 to me is not a lot of money, $10 to her is a lot of money, and it hits me in the pocketbook. So I don't want people to think that we are not taking this lightly. It is a hard decision. All the easy answers have been taken. We are now at hard answers. That's all we are. We have lowered, again, our increases have gone up, but we've done what we can to make it as easy as possible. It is hard for everybody. Everybody is struggling. So I just want to say that this is not something that we take lightly, and if we don't do something now, it is going to cost us more money down the line. And so that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Tia and David. Would anybody else like to discuss or make comments before we have a motion? Okay.
I move to approve ordinance number 2024-36, providing a property tax rate to be increased by the adoption rate of 0.85, which is an effective rate of 8% to increase the tax rate. I know it's not listed here. We recalculated to get to 8%, and Marie just did it while we were talking. So point 0.85.
That's an estimate of the 8%. I think it'll be under 8%. But.
And that keeps us under the 8%.
So, for discussion purposes, I know why you chose that, and I know that we do need to save as much as possible. I just personally would feel more comfortable with the VAR, the 0.83, since it is something that we've put out to the community to think about and look at. I think that comes out to, I think it was roughly $10 a month-ish. So for me personally, I think I would be looking more at the VAR, just because that is something that we have already put out there and information that is out there. But I do agree that we need everything that we can, but I would feel more comfortable with the VAR.
We have a motion on the floor. We're going to need to see if there's a second. Yeah.
So how would we make a counter motion, or do we just see if there's a vote?
Once the motion...
No second.
Okay. Okay.
So at this point, we're looking for a second. If there is no second, then you're back to square one.
Do I have a second for 0.85? The motion fails. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move, or a motion for the 0.838, the VAR. I read what it says? Okay. I move to approve ordinance number 202436, providing that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.838722, which is effectively a 6.02% increase in the tax rate.
Do I have a second? Kurt seconds. I have a motion and a second. I will now call upon each council member by name to take the record vote. Once your name is called, say aye to signify your approval of the motion, or nay to signify your disapproval. Councilmember Baker, state your vote.
Aye.
Councilmember Mills, state your vote. Aye. Councilmember Kopczynski, state your vote.
Aye.
Councilmember Merton, state your vote.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that Alderman Rick Stagley is absent and did not vote. Motion carried. Moving on to agenda item number 3, conduct a separate vote to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the 2024-2025 municipal budget adopted August 20th, 2024. To ratify the property tax increase of 6.02% reflected in the municipal budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 adopted on August 20th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I have a question for the motion.
Okay.
Did we already establish in the budget that the supplemental revenue from any increased tax will go to infrastructure? Do we have a designated either fund or account? That was the understanding. Is there something in the budget that says that will go to capital?
Well, technically no, but what we can do is when we have a few budget amendments that are coming up, but what we can do is we can designate that in a future council meeting that the surplus go directly into the infrastructure line item. As it is, it just shows as a revenue, and so this ratification basically shows that revenue change on the tax rate. So what we can do next is we can show that come in on the expenditure side of the ledger and go into that infrastructure line item. So the 200 and whatever that is will identify as going into the infrastructure expenditure account.
So this is reducing the approved budget from 0.88 to 0.83 and the revenue generated by it. So we're reducing the overall budget.
Correct. So this makes the change on the revenue side.
Right. Okay.
Is that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve that.
Okay, and the slide that I have at the VAR at the .838722, there should be an additional 209,350 in revenue. This is above the 250 we already have built into the budget that could go to infrastructure.
Okay.
So 250 plus the 209,350 would be infrastructure.
And what
That
we can
makes
do
sense.
to, I guess, memorialize that is have an agenda item to reflect that shows that on the expenditure side of the budget. Is that the best way you think we?
We do it as a funds transfer
funds transfer
within
out,
the revenue, so it's
Okay.
kind of revenue in, revenue out.
So basically, when we populate that infrastructure line item every year, we have the 250 that we have in built into this next year's budget. We've got anything that can be brought in as a transfer in from EDC if they choose to bring some money in, which we've done in the last several years. And then this would be that third source that we could also bring in. And all of that together would go into that infrastructure line item.
So that can be done in a budget adjustment later versus
Sure.
tonight? Okay.
We'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
I have
See
a-
how we do that.
And I'll move that we ratify the property tax increase.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Tia and Kurt both second. I will now call upon each alderman by name to take the record vote. Once your name is called, answer aye to signify your approval of the motion or nay to signify your disapproval. Alderman Baker, state your vote.
Aye.
Alderman Mills, state your vote. Aye. Alderman Kopczynski, state your vote.
Aye.
Alderman Merton, state your vote.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that Alderman Rick Stagley is absent and did not vote. With no further business to discuss, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys so much for coming.